Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for today's program, Navajo Traditional Stories and the Science of Geology with Henry Haven. I'm Maggie Onesorgan, the Public Program Manager here at the Emergence Museum. And before we begin our program, we would like to acknowledge that the Emergence is located in southern Arizona on lands where the Otham, Hopi, Zuni, Yoeme, and Apache families have lived for untold generations, and whose wisdom and traditions live on today in vibrant communities. We are very grateful for what all of these communities have, rich in history, have to teach us. We would also like to thank our members and donors who make these programs possible and fulfill Ameren's mission to foster and promote the knowledge and understanding of the Native peoples of the Americas through research, education, conservation, and community engagement. To learn how you can assist the Ameren in its mission, we ask you to visit ameren.org and learn about becoming a member or donor. A little housekeeping. We have lots going on at the Ameren these days. This weekend through Sunday, we have our Mata Ortiz weekend through Sunday from 10 to 4. We're featuring 3 award-winning potters, Hector Gallegos Jr., his wife Laura Bugarini, and the third one is Ramiro Velaz. They're all from Mata Ortiz, Chihuahua, Mexico. They'll be doing talks, demonstrations, and firings throughout the day. The Ameren will also be in Tucson at the Tucson Symphony next week on Friday, February 21st at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday, February 23rd at 2 o'clock for performances of Dvorak and the American Experience. It'll feature Raven Chacon, Inscription. Raven is a 2023 MacArthur Genius Grant awardee and a Pulitzer Prize-winning composer from the Navajo Nation. For tickets and more information, please visit the Tucson Symphony website at tucsonsymphony.org. We also have 2 in-person free talks coming up at the Tucson Museum of Art, one on March 5th with archaeologist Gary Feynman, and another on April 2nd with artist America Meredith. In regards to upcoming online talks, I do apologize. We're a little behind. They are in the works, but they're moving ahead slowly. Please visit our website, ameren.org, for more details and all other upcoming events. Today's recording, as usual, will be sent to all our registrants and will be available to watch on our YouTube channel, Ameren Foundation, later this evening. So today we are so pleased to have Henry Haven with us today. Henry is a geologist from the Navajo Nation. He received his master's in geology from Northern Arizona University. He retired after many years from the Navajo Nation Environmental Protection Agency. Previously, he worked for the oil and gas industry in Texas and the Four Corners area, exploring for oil and gas. Henry continues to consult for the Navajo Nation EPA, helping value and care for the land and water. Today's talk is based on his recent book entitled Navajo Traditional Stories and the Science of Geology. He co-authored that with Dr. Dale Nations and Max Goldtooth Sr., a Navajo Medicine Man. If you would like a copy of this fascinating book, it's available through Innovative Ink Publishing, as well as being available at the Ameren Museum store. So today, if you have any questions for Mr. Haven, please type them in the Q&A chat box, and we will get to as many as possible after his presentation. So please help me welcome Henry Haven.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Maggie. And I would like to just say thank you to Maggie, the Emerald Museum, and I really do appreciate her, inviting me to do this presentation. So again, it's called the Navajo Traditional Stories and the Science of Geology, and I will try to explain a lot of things. I think I might be missing a lot of things out of here, but I think we can get that at the end. So here we go. And Uh, there's a lot of photos that I use in this presentation, but and it's just presenting an idea of, comparing the Navajo stories to the science of geology. So that's the main idea here. And Maggie, again, thank you. Um, so I wanted to, here's kind of an overall screenshot, the slide of uh, give Dr. Nations and Goldtooth a chance, I guess, to, if they are on here, to introduce themselves. But I did have something on Nations as far as recording. But we'll cover that, and then the fundamental law of Diné people, and then our language and our traditional beliefs, and our creation stories, and again, the Western science. So some of the sacred elements, I'll be covering that. So what sacred elements we're talking about as far as the stories go, and what Neville's really believe today, So, and then out of this whole thing, what happened was that we went on to create some cleanup standards for Navajo Nation. That we had that published, back in 2012, I think. And if you have any questions, concerns, like Maggie said, just type them in. We'll try to get to it. Again, I'm not a medicine man. I'm not a Navajo medicine man, but mainly my background has been in geology here on the Four Corners area. Uh, so a lot of these stories do come from our medicine man, and a lot of elders do talk about a lot of these traditional stories in the wintertime or in sweat lodges. So there's a lot of songs and things like that that we do in the sweat lodge. So what this presentation really is about is my personal experience when I started in geology, or when before that, mainly, uh, I used to hear a lot of these traditional stories, and I didn't really quite understand a lot of these stories. But I think today, after having years of geology experience or drilling experience out here, I began to see that there is almost a comparison of the Navajo traditional stories and the science of geology. So these stories have been passed on, from older generation to younger generation for, hundreds of years or even thousands of years. So we regard this as kind of an oral historical events. I wanted to kind of introduce Dale Nations. Uh, he recruited a lot of Native students, and he recruited me also back in the early 90s to study more of their geology. So from this uh, study that we did, where we recruited Native Americans, that we, out of this came out a published U.S. Geological Survey paper that was published. And so that's available too if you were to try to look for that. Um, and so we are currently working on another book, which will be released, I think, here in a month or a couple months, and it's on the natural resources on the Navajo Nation. But I just wanted to kind of have Dr. Nation say a few words here.
Looks like his sound isn't coming through.
Okay, let's just skip that then. Okay, we didn't have the sound coming through, so uh, let me just go ahead. Max is Goldtooth is a medicine man from Tuba City, but he introduced a lot of these traditional stories. And here I was recording him talking about the dinosaur tracks, you know. But I'm sorry that unfortunately I cannot get the sound through. But anyway, he's kind of considered as a keeper of Navajo traditional stories. So again, I'm gonna try to get through the slides here. So one of the things that we normally do when we meet other people, other Navajos or other people that understand Navajos, we say yate, which is meaning, you know, it means to a lot of people it's just meaning like hello, you know, how are you doing? But actually the meaning is that we're saying Ya is the universe, and Yate means that the universe is good today, it's okay today. So that's the thing, and traditionally also that we kind of identify ourselves. We have one of these ways of identifying ourselves is to the clans. So right here, I am Tolhane, meaning near the water on my mother's side, and then I was born for a Totachitni, a bitter water. So that's on my father's side, and Tachi means red water and my maternal grandfathers. So my Deshgizhni, it means Coyote Pass, which is on my Nali side or my paternal side, my grandfather. But I wanted to kind of put into this whole thing about where I kind of got interested in the schooling. You know, this was our old schoolhouse back in Chinle, I think around 1958. And again, just a little bit of my background. So I was, when I was a little younger, there on a drilling rig on near shore on the coast. So we did a lot of drilling, and in the Four Corners area. And like Maggie said, I retired from Navajo EPA, so I'm retired right now, but doing a lot of contract work. Um, Again, Navajo Nation is located in, you know, 4 states, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. So the capital of Navajo Nation is in Window Rock, Arizona. So approximately that's like 17 million acres and probably 500,000 people in the U.S., Navajo people. Again, I think one of the early things that I encountered was that uh, I'm sorry, uh, what we had out here as far as you know, the time that we had encountered with the U.S. Army. Um, so there's a person by the name of Dr. Jonathan Letterman stationed in Fort Defiance, and this is his observation on Navajos at that time. And he said that of their religion, little or nothing is known. So all inquiries tend to show that they have none. So he pretty much thought that we didn't have any religion. The lack of tradition is a source of surprise. They have no knowledge of their origin or the history of the tribe. But again, you know, this is all oral history. We kind of consider that as part of our history. So then he said that they have gatherings for dancing, but their singing is just a succession of grunts and couldn't understand it. So that was kind of an early thought about Navajos. So, but as you know, during World War II, our language was used uh, as code, you know, for the military. And that language that we had, uh, we considered very sacred. It was a language that was probably given to us way back by animals. And you know, at that time, animals communicated, and so we did come. into this world with the other animals. So in a way, we considered this language very sacred. So that was what won World War II. We certainly believe that. And so the science of geology, I'm on the side of geology now. So geology is kind of reconsidering past events and reconstructing the history of the earth. So, so the study of the rocks over time, it's what we look at in layered sections, and does include other science like hydrology and air science, air science, and so we're trying to create the Earth system even with the universe. That's where we will begin. So it constructs the geologic time, extinction events, what was alive back then, now gone, they're no longer here, and how the Earth, came to what it is today. So science also, geology also talks about uh, the geologic time scale. So there's four different time periods, eras in the science of geology. So they pictured this as an emergence, like starting in 4.5 billion years ago, and where they think that the first evidence of life began like 3.4 million years ago. So Precambrian period uh, era began around 4.5 to 500 million years ago. So at that time, the Cambrian period began. So I think as we got, so that's one of the first geologic era that we talk about. And then we go into the Paleozoic era, which goes from 570 millions to 225 million years ago. And then the next geologic era is the Mesozoic era, which was about from 225 million to 65 million years ago. And so today, uh, people still believe that apes appeared 2 million years ago, and humans just appeared like 200,000 years ago. And so this is again this another look at actually the origin of the earth and the first organisms that appeared and the first dinosaurs, and then the mammals and birds coming in, and also the mammals then developed, and they became the dominant life, and then humans just came into being recently. So the Navajo creation stories are kind of like just stories, voices, as it tells about the time beginning, creation of the earth and the universe. Um, so again, this is just a kind of quick look at the four geologic eras: Precambrian, Paleozoic, the age of the fish and amphibians, and Mesozoic, age of the dinosaurs, and currently the Cenozoic era, the age of mammals. So on this other side, we see that uh, as the beginning of the events in the first world, Navajos talk about that as the first black world, and they talk about just what was back then at that time was insects and spiders. So that was their first stories about what began in the first world, the beginning of the earth. So the second world. So each world that came about, they emerged. The people in spiritual forms move through from one world to the next world. So extinction has taken place. Now they're going into the second world. So they see animals and bluebirds in the second world. the third world, and we talk a lot about this too, about the presence of monsters and giants. So giants, monsters, we usually call them yeitso, the big, the big giants. So, and then the fourth world is where we say animals that are present today, humans, plants, water, and air creatures, birds, everything are here today as we see it. So we emerge finally to the fourth world. Uh, and you can see in the pictures of, you know, humans up there with the truck, you know. So anyway, um, so the next, so man emerge. So the traditional stories of Mother Earth's life and extinction by natural sacred elements. Uh, so now let's talk about the creation of Mother Earth and again in four different worlds. So my daughter had this little presentation that she made, so I just kind of pictured that up there. But the first world is they believe that we call it uh, the first black world was inhabited by insects and spiders. So we called it Nehotishis, the black world, Nehotishis, this. Uh, so the night people here, animal spirits, begin their journey of emergence into the next world and to the present world. So first we they talk about extinction by fire, and then the second world, uh, Nehototish, is the second blue world, was inhabited by various birds and mammals. And there's I guess, a global glaciation of the earth, as science, you know, talks about too. So they believe that the extinction by ice, and then they move up into the third world. So, and this third world we call Neholso. So by in this world, a lot of stories talk about the giants and the monsters. And again, science talks a lot about the dinosaurs. And extinction now takes place by flooding, lightning, wind, and fire. So um, uh, we will see that a lot of things kind of correlate between, you know, the stories and the science of geology. But this, see, I didn't know growing up that learning all these stories that eh, I didn't have no idea what they were talking about. And I think when I got into the science of geology, then I saw uh, the big thing about extinctions. So it's all the same thing. The stories are the same thing. So we say in the fourth world, with the sauce, the glittering world. And I'll say more about this world because of a lot of things as how they describe today's world. So we say we finally emerged. The ne is man appears at the surface of the present world with all other animals, plants, all other living creatures. So the ne means the people, okay? And I believe that the ne is what we call ourselves, but I think that it refers to the whole humans, you know, globally. So that's the four uh, areas where I think I'll talk more about it. So one of the things that was really given to us, the Diné fundamental laws. So this is the first law. It was about natural laws, meaning balance and harmony. So man can't change any of these things, the balance and harmony. So then we talk about all the creation of all living things. So we say a lot of times that the earth is our mom, Mother Earth, because we were actually born from it. We emerged from it. So the other things the laws talk about is respect. So we need to respect other insects, plants, vegetation, and the elements that we talk about, the water, the air, earth, and the sun, the sunlight. So again, this is kind of just a quick look at the fundamental laws and uh, our identity. It talks about our language, the songs, footprints, shadows, our beliefs, and the clans, and that's how we identify ourselves. So the oral stories to us are sacred and our knowledge today. So again, I was going to show or hear a little bit orally about this first fundamental law. So this law uh, came from way back, and it was interpreted by uh, 6 Navajo medicine men that put this together and said this is the fundamental law. So this whole thing here is in Navajo, but there's a person that read the whole thing for me, and I had recorded it, but I don't think it's going to work. So anyway, so this is, oh, can, can you hear that? No? No?
No, sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on. So this is the first part of it, and the interpretation of that is we're pretty much we were called the holy people, holy people, and so through songs and prayers we were saying that thinking was put into the earth and universe. And we usually say the east direction is the thinking direction, to the direction where we put planning was embodied in the water and the sacred mountains. And and to the west, life was embodied in the air and vegetation there. And to the north direction, we say that's hope, and it was embodied in the fire, light, and sacred places. So these are, we say, the fundamental laws. Um, so the other part that was really interesting, or really important to the Navajo people. So everything is put, even our thoughts, our planning, our life, everything life, and our hope for, hoping to exist, I guess, more, and try and stay in balance with, uh, Mother Earth, the sun, the water, the air. But the other part that's so important is that we are identified by our language, the middle part there, our our Diné names. So uh, when I say that, we're talking about our clans, and then our way of life, and our shadow is part of our identification, which is our spirit. So the footprints and our pathway, this is what we hold very sacred to have, your life. So again, as I said, we were named the Holy Earth Surface People. So in the beginning, that we believe that humans were the sacred people. The 4 sacred elements again, and sacredness. Sometimes we hold what we hold in high regard, something that's beautiful, untarnished, and undisturbed. Uh, so water, Twa, is one of them. The 4 sacred elements again uh, needs water and nourishment for all living things. And all healing that we do the ceremonies, we use water to do that. And then Nche, the air, and fire, Kont, and earth, Nahastan. Those are 4 sacred elements that we is really explained a lot of oral traditional stories. So in the beginning, we say Diné, and that we had it was small, and we said there was kind of a floating island in this water in the middle of four seas. So our creator, after the people there in that first world said, "Oh, the Earth is too small," so the creator, Naasni Yana, we call that creator, he blew air into the earth and added layers of clay to make it bigger, as you know, so making the world bigger in the first world. Uh, so 200 million years ago, there existed one large supercontinent called Pangea. So again, geology science talks a lot about this. So novels kind of have the same thoughts about the first world. And one of the things that's really interesting is that we have the abundance of oxygen in the crust of the earth and in the air. So oxygen makes up about 47% of the earth's crust. So novel creation stories from elders tell us a series of emergence. Emergence, we say Hajine is where we emerge. So again, first world, we began a journey to the present world. And then the first world, dark world, was inhabited by insects. So science on the other side talks about these early trilobites, and they were most abundant in the oceans. So they were regarded as insects. So um, again, science talks about trilobites, and they were abundant in the ocean's water. Again, the first world we say was other animals, spiritual animals. Coyote, we often talk about being there with in the first world. So again, now let's talk about the first woman and first man came to existence here, and they met for the first time. You know, so they were trying to meet, uh, and first man looking for first woman burned a quartz crystal for fire, and then the first woman burned a turquoise crystal, so they found each other. Um, again, science talks about the quartz and it has properties, and uh, if you use mechanical force into it, it creates a light inside the quartz. You know, so if you rub two quartz crystals together, you're gonna see this light within the quartz. So uh, again, first man, first one were created from corn, and that's what now is believed. We came from actually the plants and the air being uh, given them life for the first time. So science really talks about where they think life began. In, if you see this muscovite, it's got layers, muscovite layers. And so that they believe that in between these layers, first life, you know. Um, so we're kind of, I don't know, you know, we have similar stories of where we think life began. Again, we said it was small and people were unhappy. So the first world was destroyed by fire. And to me, that means that something of the sacred elements were broken. So again, the result being that fire destroyed the first world. And they journeyed into the second world, and where uh, they say that there was various birds and mammals in the second world. So from here, they journeyed into the third world. So we say that the second world was destroyed by ice. The third world is the yellow world. So we say that there were two rivers that were formed across, and the six sacred mountains. So this is where we think that we're currently at. So, but we were saying there was still no sun, but more animals lived here. The third world again was destroyed by flood, and that happened when the coyotes stole the babies of the water, you know. So we the coyote had to give the babies back to their mom, and that's how we survived and coming up to the second world. So when the water was started receding, so so in a way, I think science kind of says that there's a rebound, a surface rebound as the surface came up again, as the water receded. Again, the other thing that we talk about more is in the beginning, uh, we call this insect winishiri, uh, or the cicada, which in the beginning dove into the earth and was never seen again until today. It emerged again today. So we believe that the insects, cicada, is really a protector of all lands, you know. So that's, you know, the story of uh, the four worlds. So, but I think, like I said, the fourth world we call the glittering, and Nehotosons means this like star. Okay, but see, I didn't really understand the story from way back as to why. I mean, wondered why the fourth world was called Nehotosons, the sparkling world. And I was watching TV one time way back when NASA uh, set up uh, a rocket out to take pictures. You know, as it left the Earth, it was taking pictures, and further away it went, you begin to see like pictures from space of the Earth and showing the moon and the Earth, and they look like stars. So I just thinking now that this the source is almost looking back from space, a star. But I think that's like today, that's how I was beginning to see the stories, Navajo traditional stories, kind of putting it back to science, you know. Um, anyway, so the holy people, we call ourselves, so we made, there was necessities of life like clouds, trees, and rain. And, but at the same time, when we also went into the third world, there was these evil monsters, we call them Yeitso, and they began to kill the new earth people. But we say that there's a changing woman, we call it Sanatlehe. She married the sun and had two twins, and they're the heroes. So they were the monster slayer and child born of the water. So we think that that's, you know, something as talked about in geology too, you know, the extinction of dinosaurs. So there's this the twin brothers, and so I think one of the things that the theory, I don't know if this is still true or not, but the science is saying that we evolved from apes. So I think the stories that we tell that we actually emerged from the earth, you know. And I'm going to skip down a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit faster here. So in the beginning, you know, we're talking about the creation of the universe and the coyote there, as other people were trying to place stars in the sky, putting them up, where it should go. But the coyote became very impatient and then just flung the stars up into the air, and they started, moving away. But I think I just think of science as like the Big Bang Theory, where things began. So the stars are moving away from us today. And then the way now is picture the layering, the first world, second, third, fourth world, just as geology does. Um, Again, galaxy, Milky Way, we think is the home to us. We say that it has arms, uh, that the Milky Way we consider as the sky, and then the body, you got the sun, the stars, the moon. And so these are just sand paintings that Navas were creating way back. I don't know when, but today they still do the sand paintings. But normally a sand painting would be created and destroyed that same day. Um, but a lot of sand paintings are not being drawn on wood and shown. Uh, so again, the four sacred mountains that we talked about, uh, Blanco Peak in Colorado, Mount Taylor, Comfort City, Mount Haspers, and around Durango in Colorado. So Navajo's council did pass a resolution saying that the earth is our mother, mountains are part of her sacred body, the water, her veins and arteries. So when we say the earth is injured, this becomes instability and imbalance and disharmony comes about, and that brings a lot of illness to life on earth, including us, mankind. So they do sand paintings, like I said, and those sand paintings are destroyed one day after the ceremony. Again, today, water is still being hauled, and a lot of people, uh, as much as 80% still haul water. Again, these are some of the contamination in groundwater today, gasoline, and we just see a lot of oil at the surface just being contained like this. Again, so I said that out of this whole thing, Navajo Nation created a UST soil and groundwater cleanup standards. And down here it says Nehema keep it, respect your mother, it's sacred, and take care of her. That's what it means. So anyway, I think this is just part of how we came up with the cleanup standards. Again, there's another medicine man here. Uh, he has uh, so in today we go to sweat lodges and the medicine man sings about all the beginning of life and how things came to be. So Norman, this guy name is Norman, and I sure like to play some of his songs, but anyway, let's move on. So, uh, again, I really want to thank you, and I think time was kind of running short on me. So, again, we try to respect Mother Earth, the water, the air, the sunlight, and they've been here billions of years, and they're still giving life. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Henry. Let me see if there's any questions. There's one from Alexander. I'm an instructor for college geography and geology courses. I use your book because of the traditional creation processes you describe parallel the current science processes. An example is the creation of, I'm not going to pronounce it, but shiprock. Thunderstorms with lightning strikes on the rocks are, to me, showing how the trail to the village on the rock was destroyed as described in the traditional story. Is that,
So
and then,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stories about different parts of Navajo. You know, I think like Mount Taylor, yeah, it's a volcanic uh, you know activity that happened recently, and it created one of the sacred mountains. But also, it's a story that was related to the killing of the giants. You know, so that the Navajos, when they talk about that killing of the giants, the lava flows that are come you see at the base of the mountains, they say, well, that was the blood of the monster that was killed. So in a way, science kind of sees it as a dormant volcano, now sleeping, put to sleep. So I don't know if that's what, if that was answering your question, or I wasn't sure.
Here's another question from Rod. Since the origins of the corn plant lie in ancient Mexico, have any of the Nahuatl beliefs there been adopted as Navajo beliefs?
I think as I see today that there's a mixture of people on Earth, right? And people talk about migration, and I think that some of the stories might be with what people brought from other culture, but there's a mixture. Navajo is just not one coming from one gene or whatever you was. There's a mixture of people, mixture of blood. So there's a lot of meeting places way back. People may have migrated back and forth. So I'm sure that there was a lot of stories that were connected to.
Yeah, I know the hero twins are that's a oral history from a lot of native cultures. Are you finding that other oral histories from other cultures kind of match what the Navajo stories?
I think we share a lot of stories. Even the Hopis have the same creation stories, almost identical. But so
Yeah.
I'm thinking that a lot of Native people maybe shared these stories a long time ago. Maybe that's how they were seen.
Let's see, we've got another one. Uh, that's just a comment. Um, there was one so the scientists that you've worked with and you've spoke about this with, what's their reaction?
I think the person that I work with, Dr. Nations, well-known geologist here in Arizona, uh, we had a conversation on this before that book came out. That I was trying to let him know that the major extinctions that has taken place almost uh, parallels what science was saying, geology was saying.
Yeah.
So we just had a talk like this, and we talked about maybe putting this in a book. It's just
Yeah.
one of the major ideas about extinction.
And going forward, are there any oral stories about the fifth world or what?
I think as one elder said, we don't really know when the fifth world is going to come, but if we disrespect our sacred elements, the air, the earth, the sunlight, you
Yeah.
know, things like that that keeps us alive, our Mother Earth. If we create an imbalance, if we're not in harmony with all these elements, I think you're going to see the beginning of the fifth world, is what he said.
Yeah, common sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we've got another one from Joyce. I'm reminded that other cultures have similar stories about the creation of the earth. The ancient Egyptians, for instance, also spoke of the destruction of the world by a flood and that the earth rose above the waters. There seem to be shared experience and stories handed down about creation. Can you comment?
Yeah, the way I see things is that uh, people, I mean, this is just, thoughts that I have because I think emergence didn't just happen in one place. There were several emergence, just like plants do. I mean, plants are different from in different parts of the world. Animals are different in different parts of the world. But the events that take place is shared by everybody, globally. So I think that that's just my thoughts that things are really not shared between people, but it's shared between what's happening at their location and,
Right.
and and create these stories.
This kind of goes into that. The last one from Trisha. Every religion or stories of people that I've ever heard about all have a flood story. Do you agree?
Well, I think I heard a lot of tribal, other native people telling the same stories, or even globally, Egypt, Egyptians, or whatever. I hate to say this, but different religions have the same stories. But
Right.
I think it's a major event. It's one of these major extinctions of that what I thought was the what we try to put into this book that we share, you know. Um, but anyway, I think uh, well, we're all agreeing to say that these things relate in some way to the natural elements, you know. So Navajos don't have a religion. It's about really respecting uh, the natural elements, our environment.
I think that's the last question. I've got somebody asking again where they can buy the book. Again, it's Innovative Ink Publishing and the Amarin Museum Store, which you can call at 520-586-3666. Hopefully she has copies left. I know she had an order in. And I'll also include that in the email that I send out tonight. So you have it again. And Henry, thank you again for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.